Hello, everybody. We are live, and it's good to be here. Let's I don't know, turn it over to Bobby. And oh my God, FP Trumpet just subscribed. Woohoo! My voice is right. My apologies. Let me fix that right away. I will fix that. All right. You should now only hear one voice. And Bobby, take it away.
Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. I think we have some people still showing up, so we'll give them a little bit of time. Today will be a very special stream, as always, because that's all we do here.
That's all we do. We only know special.
Right. Clyde and the Caldera.
We were debating this before.
Right.
You know, is it Caldera? We couldn't have a consensus, if anybody. And the thing is, well, you could, I guess, phonetically type if you know the answer to that. But thank you guys.
It is Caldera.
It's Caldera. Okay, so we got
Caldera.
the pronunciation down. Yes. We figured that much out. So anyway, I see some very familiar people here, and so nice to have you guys. And I got to give this special shout out to FP Trumpet. He's been, you know him, Bobby. You know, you must remember FP from back in the olden days when I just streamed for fun. Anyway, thank you, FP, for being here. He's a very, very, very special, honored person involved in this ongoing experiment with streaming. Not only that, he's played on a lot of our Orb Soundworks tracks. So he's done live trumpet on several of our projects that for clients. So just had to make a special shout out. And anyway, sorry to interrupt, but go on, Bobby.
No, we're good. We're good.
We're good.
Yeah. Clyde and the shoot, now I forgot what it is. Caldera. Clyde and the Caldera, yes. Because it is a cauldron-like volcano shape.
Right. Do you remember, David, when you wrote the soundtrack for Pac-Man, do you remember if there was like a specific order? If you just did like 1, 2, 3, or if it was a bit randomized?
Right. You know what? So I honestly don't remember, but using deductive logic, I started in beta, which means that all 6 levels would have been completed. But various characters were still like stick figures and things like that, and or just little cubes on the screen. So some of the modeling had not been, I guess, completely finished. So yeah, it was. I entered in beta, and so yes, everything would have been completed. The cutscenes were done at the very, very end. So that I remember because I have this one folder in my archives called Last Minute Stuff. And it was all the cutscenes. And I remember we were actually changing things up until, I kid you not, 2 days before the Gold Master was pressed. And for those that don't know, the Gold Master back in those days, was the DVD that it got burned onto. And that was the master copy from which all other copies of the DVD went to mass production. It's called a Gold Master. So yeah, like 2 days before Gold Master, we're still Yas is like, I don't know, man. Can you just change it again? And I'm just like, okay. And, then in 2002, everything was FPT. It's FP Trumpet's fault that I called an FTP server an FPT because he's FP Trumpet. So, I meant to say FTP servers, which are file transfer protocol servers. I think that's what FTP stands for. It's been a long time since I used one. So
yes,
it is. Okay, Bobby's confirming. Anyway, so which was this way of exchanging files over the very early internet, And so, yeah, because they were in San Francisco, I was in LA, and, and then we would have phone calls. There was no video conferencing calls. Like a video call was a thing of the future, basically, And, but yeah, so yeah, I remember for sure the beta had playable versions of every level. And, sometimes you'd be in the middle of a level and the whole thing would just freeze. And then I would report that back to Glenn Kierton, the producer, and he'd be like, "Wow, we're gonna have to pay you extra for the QA work you're doing also." And I said, "Well, I love the game." And you see, this is the thing. I was a huge Pac-Man fan as a kid, and so working on this, like I loved it. I played it, like I played it every day. So I think that there's many different kinds of game composers out there, but I think the ones that, I guess are the most connected are the ones who are the most passionate about the projects they work on, and it's not like that for every game. I mean, I've done tons of soundtracks. I mean, where I, didn't even see the game once, but in my own defense, we have a great team, you and Emanuele and myself. And, I don't really need to have the hands-on experience. Like mostly Emanuele is the hands-on guy for everything. Like all assets at Orb Soundworks, they pass through his hands finally to the client. So, the industry has changed a lot, but back then it's like, I every single pixel I observed, But I was brought on in beta, and then the cutscenes were done at the very, very, very end. I remember that much.
What were the types of things that they asked you to change 48 hours?
Yeah. I no superstar man. I did not get paid anything extra. That would have been nice, but I wouldn't. Yeah, it was never in the cards. But anyway, it was a pleasure to interact with the team. As far as hello, Bergster, some of these names are hard to say. So anyway, welcome guys, welcome everybody to the stream. Yeah, as far as like what, I mean, Yas especially, like he played guitar, right? So, he knew a lot about music, and his ears, I mean, he just had incredible set of ears. Like he could just hear the most subtle and minor differences. He's like, why did you change the French horn sample on, and I'd be like, how the hell did he know? And I said, well, because, I got a new library, and I think these French horns are just so much better than the other ones. He'd be like, please, could you kindly put them back, because I dislike immensely. Like he was always a gentleman about it, but spoke in very strong terms, and that's not really how he spoke, but he just like, well, like if it was on a phone call, he'd be like, well, just change them back because these new ones just don't work for me. And I would, but he could, he could hear everything, so very sophisticated set of ears. And, the Japanese, like he's Japanese. And so, they're very particular about music, and there's an incredible history, I mean, even before, Koji Kondo, who was, of course, wrote the Super Mario music. There's a huge legacy of incredible Japanese composers. So I was sort of like, at the end of the day, even though there's Namco Home Tech in America, it's a Japanese game, it's a Japanese IP, it's, and so yeah, he had very, very particular ears. And yeah, so those were the kinds of changes, or he'd be like, the drum beat is, it's too frenetic. Can you simplify it? But on only certain things. And then other things he would just be like, yeah, this is perfect. And that's the thing. Like he never, ever, not even once asked me to change anything arbitrarily. Everything was always, there was always a reason. And even if I didn't understand the reason, he and I had trust. We had trust built, right? And so I trusted him that his vision for the game, it made sense to go back to the first French horn for whatever reason.
Well, it's also great to have a client that is clear and knows, it can communicate clearly with,
yes and no. So like on the one hand, yes, it's great to have clients like that. But on the other hand, it creates a lot of extra work.
Right.
A lot. And I mean, to be fair, that was the most difficult soundtrack I've ever had to do because of just the sheer amount of changes. Just a couple questions coming through.
Yeah.
Joseph is asking, can you release these Pac-Man World 2 unused tracks and others to the public? You see, now that's debatable, and we're gonna have to
working on that.
Yeah, we're working on it, and we're gonna have to talk to the Namco lawyers, because in my contract, it was clear that it was only the assets that shipped with the game that were subject to the copyright handover. I have the hiccups. Excuse me. So anything that was rejected by them is my intellectual property. And this, I know we put in the contract because that's how it always is. And like, you're only paying or pay me for those. You didn't pay for those. You paid for the ones that are in the game, but you didn't pay me for all the outtakes, right? So the answer is, I honestly don't know. Probably yes, but I know on one of their trailers they used one of the pieces that belongs to me technically. It was one of the rejected tracks. Yeah, I heard it, and I was just like, oh man, whatever. I don't know. I'll stay silent on this.
At least for now.
At least for now. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, I mean, look. Will I release them into the wild sometime? Be like, oops, I forgot this on an FTP server somewhere. In case you're open to the question later, I have one. The first 6 notes of Magma Opus are also in the main parts of previous level 2. Yeah. Oh, no. No, it's not a coincidence. No. I was very, very careful about the use of themes and how to use themes and how to bring back thematic material, And, in the discussions about music with Glenn and with Yas, this was one of the things that was brought up. The idea that we wanted there to be a strong thematic relationship between every level of the world, but they also wanted a Pac-Man World 2 theme, which when you start up the game for the first time, you actually hear, da 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 da, so... Yeah, all the thematic material was very, very well, premeditated, I suppose. So, but yeah, I think, maybe those tracks will somehow mysteriously appear on the internet. We'll see. I don't know. Let's see. In the Pac-Man World 1 remake, the jukebox DLC contained a bit of music from the OG PS1 game. So maybe they have the right to shut it all down. Yeah, I mean, they do. First of all, look, let's be clear about this. Yeah, they have the right to do anything. Everything and every note that I composed on that game belongs 100% without debate belongs to them. Only the tracks that were published, though. The rest are mine. So, yeah, like it's theirs, man. And so they're right. They're not wrong to ask us to take it down. But our argument was like, hey, we're doing this for the fans because there's so many unofficial versions of the soundtrack out there that are not from my studio. And what we were saying is, hey, this is the official one that was done here the studio has changed a lot over the years, but in the studio of David Aaron Logan, the original composer. So, and you love hearing that every time I booted up the game. Yeah, well, that was all me. Also, the Namco logo that happens, bum bum bing bum bing brrr, ding. That was also me. I did that also. And so, like, literally everything you hear in Pac-Man was done by me, and or people on my team. And with the exception of the voiceover performances, I did not do those. So in its highest original quality. Exactly, yeah. Hi, hello, meep meep 189, hello. I think you can still probably get away with keeping your stuff. And I mean, listen, you know what? It doesn't really matter. I don't, it's not that I don't care. The thing that, like, I showed this before, because this can never be taken away from me. And I'm so proud of it, because back then, right, there you go, right there. Whoop. Yeah, there you go. Music and sound design. And so, like, I'm in the credits of this game, and that can never be taken away. And the music is out there. It's beloved by so many fans who just love that soundtrack. And that is done. I don't care about Repack. I don't care that they butchered the remake of the music for Bedouin Woods. Like, it's like egregiously, and I think objectively just not good. You know, I won't say terrible, but it's really not good. I don't care. You know, what I care about is that this music was given to the gaming community. And I mean, it's not like the Ark of the Covenant or anything, but you know, it is like a soundtrack I'm really proud of that resonated with all of you, right? That's what I care about. The rest I don't care, you know. Thing is, I did it the hard way. I compiled a personal. See, you and everybody else, Busters, Gex. Exactly. People made these unofficial copies where they would rip or torrent and they were low quality. They were not the high resolution original master recordings, right? We're talking about the original masters as they were done in my studio. And it is a positive way because, Miles, I'll tell you one thing, and I'll say this to everybody listening. You will not have control over so many things that happen to you in your life, right? Things that are completely out of your control. Here's one thing that is 100% always in your favor as far as the ability to control it. How you react to any situation, you can control that. You have all of that in your control, right? Get into an argument with your partner, you can yell at them or you can speak gently to them, right? And if they say something you don't like, equally, right? Like, you can always choose your response, you know, to anything, right? And so, you know, I will say this because I live in Europe, so I don't have a dog in this fight, and I just want to say it because it's totally off topic, but I really think that it's important to say this. You know, it's about the death of Charlie Kirk. And so all I'm going to say, like I said, without taking any sides, no, don't laugh. Bobby's laughing already. He's like, what the hell is this guy, this Canadian living in Italy going to say about our American political system? I'm going to say this, that everybody is choosing their own reactions to his death. And my point is this, you have a choice. And the people who are saying we got to go and kill a bunch of, you know, radical left wingers, you know, those people are bad. Those people are wrong because more violence is not the correct reaction. The correct reaction is always dialogue. And like I said, no matter what you think of his politics, doesn't matter. He advocated for dialogue. And that's always, I think, the best response to resolving any difference between anybody. So that's all I'm going to say. So, yes, it is a good reaction, getting back to our stream here, because you have a choice. So I'm not angry at Namco. They're doing exactly what they should be doing, protecting their IP. I'm very disappointed in the decisions. I'm very disappointed in the choices they made for all the repack music I've heard so far. I think it's objectively just not good, you know, at all. It's not even good game music, even if it has my melodies, you know, because it's what they're missing are the complexities of my rhythms. That's what they're missing, right? So if you think of Bedouin Woods, right, and you think of the opening with, instead of talking about it, like,
let's hear it.
Yeah, let's just hear it. Yeah, exactly. So if you listen carefully here to the drumming, listen to the rhythm on everything, you know, in the treetops level. Here we go, Bedouin Woods. It's like this samba rhythm that's being performed with my two hands on a real snare drum, on a real drum set, and I'm hitting the tom, right? Shak dak dum dak da dum shak dak dum. You know, and they just did, you know, and it's like, are you joking, man? You know, and so like, to me, that's objectively, measurably, like, and then when you get to like butane pain, for example. I mean, just the nuance of the rhythm, all lost on them. But anyway, all good, guys.
So,
I'm not mad.
Okay. With that, I think we can get to the
Feature?
it's not quite the repack, but the remaster of Clyde and Caldera.
Reassembly.
Reassembly.
Reassembly,
Okay, there you go.
right?
Yeah.
Because I'm literally using the all original samples.
Right.
I'm using the original MIDI files.
Effects are the same too?
Okay, so that's a great question. That's a great question. No, they're not. And because everything back then was done on, I had this thing called a Mackie digital 8-bus console. It was like the digital mixing console. Everybody had one. And, even the technology that ran that console is still baked into the entire SSL system, which is the Huey system. Anyway, long story short, none of the effects are original, but I'm trying to use the closest I can use, right? So for example, like I have in my rack here, there's like two PCM 80, PCM 81, and a PCM 90. So these are multi-effects and reverbs units by Lexicon. So as you guys both know, I love my Lexicon. And so like I'm using, well, I stopped using, but I was using the same Lexicon algorithm plugin. So like I'm trying to go as close as I can. I'm actually using Valhalla because of the unfortunate Lexicon crashing everything in Logic situation. But Valhalla is damn close. The vintage verb is almost the same. So some differences, but anyway, so yeah, it's a great question. So no, I was not, I'm not using the same because I can't. Now, one of the things I'm trying to avoid desperately is I'm trying to not be like, oh man, I wrote that. Oh man, like I'm supposed to resolve to a C chord, but accidentally there's a D flat only for a microsecond, but it's still for a microsecond makes that chord sound bad. I'm trying not to delete that. I'm trying to keep everything in, and it's so difficult. And I'm just like, what? What? You're playing chords in the bass? Like, that sounds just terrible. And Nolan Brewer is here. Hey, Nolan, what's up? Sorry, a big special hello to Nolan. I was on his Artist Corner podcast last night, which is now out, and I watched a little bit of it. So yes, you're up very early because we're 12 hours apart. So thank you. And by the way, Nolan is wonderful. You should all check it out. His Nolan Brewer is his handle there. And he's got this podcast called Artist Corner. He's a lovely, lovely gentleman. He's absolutely kind and intelligent and adorable. He's awesome. So go check out his stuff. And he's like, is there anything you want to promote? Like, can I put some URLs in the description for you? And I'm like, just Orb Soundworks. And, so anyway, I just wanted to give a special thank you because he just became a follower here. Anyway, by the way, when people join, it says you're now one of the people. And that's because on my original stream, I refuse to call people my followers because it sounds like a cult. You know what I mean? Like, but I think the default is like, Nolan Brewer is now a follower. It's like, that feels like a cult. I hated it. So I changed it to like, you guys are just the people. You're not my followers. You're people with like minds and like interests. So yeah. But no, so it's not the original effects. Anyway, let's fire this up. I mean, it's already fired up. And my apologies. Somebody requested Spooky, but unfortunately, we've already talked about Spooky once before. And this was on our docket, the Orb Soundworks docket. So, and it's loaded up. So here we go. Let's talk about this sucker. So here it is. This is the Clyde and the Caldera. And let me do this also so you can all, hello, I'm here. So yeah, this is it. And, as I'm sure some of you might have already noticed, I'm a huge fan of color coding everything. And so like the percussion is like this hot pink. Keyboards or keyboard-like things are always this kind of brown color. Like any orchestral hits, I love making orchestral hits. I still to this day make my own special orchestra hits. Strings are always in blue. If it's more of a complicated section, then I have another color coding if I'm splitting strings off into 5 different sections. But that's not the case here. The strings are just supporting. Star of the show, as you can see here, is all the percussion. Brass is always in yellow, and all vocals are in this kind of, I don't know, hot orange, I guess. And then, of course, anything like the whole soundtrack of this level is in Pac-Man yellow, which just so happens to be the same color as the brass. It's just one of these. That is a coincidence, by the way.
Hey,
Okay,
David,
so
real quick.
yes,
These were all exports from
Studio Vision Pro.
Studio. Yes. Okay. And you exported them as MIDI, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then just dropped the MIDI in, lined it up.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. Did you have to export track by track, or did you do all the tracks at once?
Bobby's got such good questions, man. So in studio, so by the way, and I mean, just because why not? I mean, we can do this, right? So I have an OS9 emulator, right? And the short answer, this is the OS from the late 90s, early 2000s, right? But to answer the question, most tracks, yes. There's an option called multi-track standard MIDI file export. And I would always tick that box before exporting. However, I'm going to go with about 15% of the tracks were corrupted. So halfway through the export, it was really sad. It would say illegal write time. This is the message. I've seen it a million times. Illegal write time. And then it would just freeze. And then I would say, I'd say okay. And then it would freeze. And then it would show at least the track number. And it didn't dawn on me until maybe it was too late. But eventually I realized, well, what if you just deleted the track number that it did the illegal write time on? And bingo, it would work. The problem was sometimes you get 3 illegal write times on 3 different tracks. And it was just, this was a lot of work, guys. Like, it's hard to describe just how much work this entire exporting thing was, And so then I got even deeper. I'm like, well, what if I just delete the first 16 bars of the track? Because some of the tracks I needed, right? Because I'm like, well, I can't reconstruct without that track. So I'm like, what if I just cut the first half? Because at the end of the track, I repeat the same notes anyway. So I did, and guess what? It worked. And then on another one, I just deleted the first note only, and it worked. But it was inconsistent. It wasn't always the same way, right?
Is that why some of them are broken up?
No. The breaks are these breaks are just me. I hate seeing even this bothers me, all that junk in there, because it's just not how what it's doing is taking the entire track. So very often, if I just want to, one of my favorite keyboard shortcuts is play from selection, right? So it'll literally just play from wherever you point your mouse to, right? And this is one of the, it's the fastest way of getting around. And so if I'm editing my strings over here, or maybe I'm doing this orchestral part and I want to just hear from here, if I highlight the whole region and I say play from selection, well, it goes all the way over there. So what I do is I often split it up so I can just, especially if I'm working on that particular section, right?
Right.
I'm a huge fan of cycle playback. So you always set your in point and your out point. Yeah. It's the only way I work. I never turn it off. And that's why my best friend is, play from selection. And on my, wrong one here. See this red button I'm pointing at? That is my play from selection button. And so literally it's and by the way, if you see how I rest my hand on the keyboard, look where my thumb just so happens to be, on the red button. right? And so, for example, now you can actually see how efficiently you can watch my thumb here, right? Select, play, select, play. While playing back, cut, select, play, right? Another cut, select, play. So you see how fast that is? Like, that is like really, really fast, you know. Now there are other ways, like, you know, for example, you can use the marquee tool, right? Marquee tool is another fantastic way. And in some ways it's like a better tool, and every DAW has an equivalent of this. So for example, my right click button here is the marquee tool. So if I only want to hear from there to there where I selected, this is a fantastic tool, right? If I just want to hear from here to here, use the marquee tool. And it stops. Right? I didn't hit stop. It's just when you use that marquee tool, it's very particular. I don't like the marquee tool because I want to continue playback, right? So, but I always want to start from somewhere. And all of you will, you know, I mean, by the way, you don't need a red button on your keyboard. You know, you can just, you know, actually when I'm working on my laptop and I don't have my red button, I have a shortcut, Option W, and it does the same thing. And actually sometimes when I'm working in the big room, I'll also hit the Option W and I'm like, just use the red button. You know, I forget I have the red button, so. All right, let's go to this track here. Let's talk about it and break it down. So as I mentioned, lots and lots of rhythm going on in here. Maybe we'll just start off by soloing the percussion. Lots of rhythm, man, going on in here. So we have, this is called Ambient Slits from Heart of Africa, another fantastic Spectrasonics library. Huge fan of Eric Persing, as I said many podcasts ago. We have, this is the Vitos Miroslav orchestral bass drums. Also, the Miroslav timpani. In tritones. Hey, thank you, Nolan, for subscribing. Thank you. You're awesome. Much appreciated. We're sending you Pac-Man love from Orb. That's good. Pac-Man love from Orb. Yeah? Oh, Bobby, is your screen frozen? Emanuele, are you there? You're there. Is Bobby frozen for you? I can't hear you. You're muted, Emanuele.
He might be, actually.
All right. Well, hopefully he comes back. Anyway,
yes,
so
I'm back.
Oh, you're back.
Okay,
Good,
yes,
good.
Yeah.
So
I have some network problems.
no worries. Anyway, so this is the thing is there's only 3 percussion instruments, but listen to how much music there is. Oops. Solo. Right? Lots. I mean, that on its own is like a full soundtrack. The gongs of doom, man. And that is actually from a sound effects library from the General 6000 series from Sound Ideas, that gong. Fantastic. One of the best gongs like ever recorded. Oh, just the perfect gong. It's actually not a gong. It's called a tam-tam, but who's counting? Okay. Accompanying these really heavy, the heavy bass drum and the heavy timpani, we have this thing called low piano. And this is from a library called Percussive Adventures. And so let's listen to all 4 of these together with the ambient slits as well. Let's go. Now listen without the piano. Like, it's subtle, but you can really hear the difference, for me anyway. And by the way, on its own, let's do this here. Let's pull these out of this and then go here and do this. On its own, I mean, You know, and for me, when I heard that for the first time, I was just like, holy cow, that's insane how.
What library is that?
That is from a library called Percussive Adventures. So, which was not Spectrasonics, actually. I think it's East West who originally put that library out. Or at least they bought it and made it a part of their whole offering. So, and then of course, you've got my own custom orchestra hits, which are also a big part of this track. Oops. Sorry about that. Let me try that one more time. Damn, just like shrank, like a big punch in the face. And so that's my own. I love making my own orchestral hits. I do it all the time. And then, of course, you know, we've got your standard spiccato strings. A big tritone, which, you know, is kind of trite in a way. Bing, bong, bing, bong, bong. You know, the tritone for a boss is like kind of overdone, but look, man, if you have the blues, then write a blues song. You know, like if you're doing a boss, you know, use minor seconds and tritones. I mean, why? Because it works. It's tested and proven. So one of the other kind of stars of the show, I suppose, would have to be the vocals. There's a lot of, and I, by the way, for those that know me, I hate vocals in game music. I think it's way overused. And so I only used it, I think, in Pac-Man World 2, like maybe twice on when you finally kill Spooky at the end, and maybe the FMV before the final boss. I can't remember, but it's very sparing. Anyway, this is one of the only tracks in the base levels, in other words, 1, 2, and 3 before the boss. This is one of the only bosses that contain actual use of choir music, of choir in the orchestra. So let's have a listen to that. I'll solo it so you can kind of get an idea. So I had these tribal chants, and let's just kind of, oops. So here we go. These are these really, and by the way, you hear the delay on that, Bobby. That is, right. You know, that's not the original one, man. You know, it's just not. Right. So really quite heavy, you know, especially with the rest of the orchestra. And this is a boss. Ooh, that's heavy. And there's all these places where there's so much space because, you know, I think that, you know, leaving the gamer a little bit of space in the music, I think that's really important, you know. Especially for a boss, like you got to really, I mean, you have to focus, I suppose, in every level, but I think particularly on the boss. So there's a question. Yeah, the Fomps, where are they from? And by the way, do you mean, by the Fomps, do you mean this sound? So that is from, I think it was called Classical Choir. And it might have been also by Peter Sidliacek, who's the guy who did all the orchestra sounds for Eric Persing for Roland. So hello, Spin. Hello, welcome. So yeah, I think it was called, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was called Classical Choir. I use these also on X-Men. I use this Vom. And there's another one where it was Zom. So they had Vom and Zom. And they had no idea how helpful that would be to me for both Pac-Man and for X-Men. It was like I used on both, man. I might have even used it also on Asteroids. So, yeah, great vocal sample. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm using, some decent amount of. There's the Lexicon Hall seems to be behaving. It's not crashing so far. But then I use. This is from the Vienna Symphonic Library. It's one of their impulse responses. So, I have a nice, healthy amount of reverb. Because when I listened, back to the original, there's a fair amount of reverb on there. So I decided to make it fairly wet. These tribal chants, honestly, I don't remember. It may have been, actually, it's vaguely coming back to me. I think it was called XL1 and or like Ecstatic Goldmine. There were a whole series of these early sample discs back then, before you had companies offering subscription services. You bought one disc at a time and you built your collection up over time. I think it was called XL1 or Ecstatic Goldmine, and there's just all these strange, obscure samples from vinyl records, and I don't know. I guess I heard that and I was just like, damn, that's really tribal. And I do video game music, and I'm gonna need some tribal vocal samples. And I guess I tucked it under my arm for that reason. So I really don't remember which disc. So
did you get that from? Okay, I have two questions. The
Go
first
for it.
one is, did you get that from the sequencer?
No.
How did you get
right.
that WAV file into Logic?
So, okay, so let's first of all...
how did you get that WAV file into the sequencer?
Right. So, first of all, let's look at OS 9 for a moment. And you can actually see here I organized everything. Oh, all the lava music got sort of lost, and then I realized I put it all in one file, but I kind of had a heart attack, and I was like frantically searching, like, how could you not have archived the lava music? But I couldn't find it anywhere. I'm like, all right, well, may as well get to work on the one you do have. And then of course I open it up and there's all three levels stacked on. I was just like, oops. Okay, so look, Studio Vision Pro was called a sequencer. It wasn't even called a DAW back then. You could record audio alongside, and often we did. And there was I wouldn't even call them plugins yet. I don't even know what you call them. Lost my train of thought. Right. So it was MIDI. Okay. MIDI only. So what I exported from Studio Vision Pro were MIDI only. So I had to rely on memory and listening to the original soundtrack to figure out what sounds, because many times now when I label, I'm pretty good at labeling. Okay. So if I labeled the track VOM, there's only one sample that can be VOM, and that's the VOM. Now the good news is I meticulously archived every single level and every sound I used. So on every sampler. So it was mostly using Sample Cell. But I also used the K2500, and
Okay.
I think I used one of my emus as well. So it was, then I have two different translation pieces of software that translate from the old format of like Sample Cell 2 or of the Akai S6000 or the Akai S1000 or the Kurzweil K2500, and will translate into Contact or EXS24, but I've abandoned that. I just will never use the EXS24. I'm in the process now of converting all my libraries over to, because guys, Apple failed to keep up with the industry, like failed miserably with their professional software. It's true. People who use Final Cut are complaining. I'm complaining about how just terrible the EXS24 is. It's awful. It's a piece of junk. Anyway, by comparison, but in their defense, I'll say that Native Instruments Contact, and Manuele and I were having this discussion the other day, that the interface still looks, what did we say? Looks like it's from 1998, the UI. I forgot what we said about that, Manuele, but...
Yeah, something like that. It's
yeah.
very old.
We were just really saying not
Like
so.
Windows, they just put
There you go.
stuff on top.
Yeah, it literally looks like an old Windows XP piece of software, and then they just ported it onto the Mac or something like that, you know. So, okay, so getting back to Bobby's question. So, and you said you had two, but let's finish with the first one. So yes, let's also just quickly look and see the Studio Vision Pro. So this is an OS 9 emulator, okay? And I'm loading up the original, and it's saying Giga Startup 110701, meaning November 7th, 2001. You know, please find this or file to use instead. This is the MIDI profile. In other words, what MIDI devices did I have hooked up to my MIDI interface so that Studio Vision Pro could speak with all the pieces of hardware that were in my studio, right? So that just in case you're wondering what that is. Okay, so we're going to skip all that. Then it's trying to relink. I said skip. So then it's going to say, well, I need to know, what do you want me to do with all these things I can't find? Do you want me to link them up to new things you have in your studio? Of course, it's just doing what software does and acting logically and normally. Now, it's going to take a while to load up, but to sort of finish off with Bobby's question, the MIDI data only. And then, yes, I had to rely on memory and the way I labeled my tracks in Studio Vision Pro. I had to rely on that by the way, I'm trying to do a few of my X-Men tracks from X-Men Mutant Academy. This is where I wanted to kill my intern, because I would give my interns various tasks, because I always believe in like giving young people opportunities, right? So I've always had like an intern, somebody helping me out in the studio. And Emanuele, my business partner, one of my two great business partners, started off as an intern. I mean, that's how he started. And now he's my boss, effectively. Like he basically tells me what to do. It's true. So anyway, this kid didn't label anything. Every preset was just called untitled. So I can't, it's like a decoding key is lost, because I have the tracks labeled, but I have no way of linking them up with the presets. And I'm literally just going through hundreds of things called untitled preset, loading each one, hoping the MIDI will then, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like lock together with the original samples, and it's not happening, and it's very sad. All right, so here's the remapping. It's saying lava2.svp has channels that are not in your studio setup. Can you please relink them? And at that point, you would select. Usually there'd be a list of like 20 different devices in here, but this is an emulator, so it only sees QuickTime Music and Studio Patches PMG program change, basically. So we cancel out of that because we don't want to remap. And then oh wow, it just crashed. The emulator just, Pac-Man World 2 music is so heavy and powerful that it crashes the emulator apparently. So I'm only going to try that one more time and then we'll move on. But in the meantime, I think I answered that question. What was the second one?
So, yeah, how did you trigger the samples, and then how did you get the samples from
the
originals into Contact? Yeah.
Right. So as I was mentioning before, I have these two different translation softwares. One was done in the mid 2005s, late 2000, around 2005, and was used quite often, you know, even in the 2011s or the 2010s. So that was called CD Extract with an X. So and the other one I bought recently, which I actually originally owned 25 years ago and used frequently, because you have to understand, formats came and went. I mean, you know what I mean? Like they came and they went. Giga Studio, for those who remember it, was like it was the Contact of its day. Like literally, it was that. It was just as ubiquitous as Contact is today. It's gone, like long gone, like seriously long gone. Most people haven't even heard of it. Only people sort of my age and older remember. It was originally called. What was it called originally? I think it was called, oh God, I'm confusing. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They changed the name to Giga. It was called Giga Sampler. And then they changed it to Giga Studio. They got more ambitious. And then Gibson Guitars bought them out. Like, what don't we own? Let's buy a sampler. And of course, guitar company managing technology company, not a good idea. And within 3 years, it was completely defunct and nobody used it. And Gibson, like, it's this long history of formats and software. And, that comes and goes. That is like the number one on planet Earth. And then, look, where's BlackBerry, right? So before the iPhone, BlackBerry was just like, they took the iPhone as a joke. They're like, who the hell's going to use a phone? It has no buttons. Famous video, Steve Ballmer even, with a iPhone for the first time. And he's like, this thing has no buttons. Nobody's going to use a phone with only one button. Oh, fuck. Is he ever eating his words forever for that one? And that one's even worse than Bill Gates's famous video. No one in their lifetime will ever require more than 1 megabyte of RAM in their computer ever. Oh, well,
I think it was 640K.
Whatever. You know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So anyway. Oh, yeah. And then the Windows Phone. Yeah, that was a disaster. So the point is, these things, they come and they go, guys. And, let me try and open this one more time here. It's so funny because I have a double click button on my mouse. So like when I click the top right hand corner, it does a double click. Believe me, it saves, like having to double click, it saves, I don't know, energy and time over a long period of time. Anyway, the OS 9 emulator does not recognize that command because there's no drivers for the mouse, no support. So I'm like hitting the double click, nothing's happening. I'm like, what the hell? Did it freeze again? It's like, no, right. It doesn't have your driver. So anyway, yeah. So, so there was, the one I owned previously that I had to buy again, which, that was bitter medicine. It's a company called Chicken Systems, and their product is just called Translator. So between those two, because sometimes one would do like a wonderful, flawless job on Giga Studio files, and then it would totally screw up Akai, S1000 discs, and vice versa. Like some of them did better, or like going from EXS24 to Contact, which is what I'm trying to do now, right? Like one with a particular set of libraries is fantastic, and then the other is better. And I've sort of been, and there's not really consensus as to which does better. So what I did with my X-Men library, which is all done on my EMU samplers, primarily. There's also other samplers, but primarily I use my EMU. It's this thing called the ESI 2000, totally obscure. It was actually like a budget sampler compared to their big flagship one, but it was amazing. It was the filters. I was always like this filter guy, the filter challenge. We still have to do that, don't we? The X-Men Mutant Academy filter challenge. And anyway, we're a little bit sidetracked, but still good question. So yeah, a lot of these discs, the problem was I was converting from converted. So I would convert from my Akai. I converted all my Akai S1000 discs to EXS24 Logic. And then I had to convert EXS24 to Contact. So it was like doing ancient Greek into Latin into ancient Chinese and then hoping it was going to work. Right. And a lot got lost in translation. But I've gotten to know Contact now a lot better just from the mistakes, all the mistakes that were made in the translations. Right. So, all right. So let's go back to this track here. So I think one of the things I maybe my favorite part of the track is these giant horns here. Just big, fat. One of the samples, actually a friend of mine gave me these samples when we were students together at Berkeley, and he went on to be like one of the most successful composers, of my generation. Like if you know NFL on Fox, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, bum, bum, da-da-da, 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 da-da. Just Google it. Anyway, one of the best sports themes ever written. And like guys like David Foster, Jerry Goldsmith, all, auditioned for this. And my best friend, he was my best friend in college because we were both Canadians at Berkeley, right? So anyway, he wound up doing it, and then he did NHL on Fox, MLB on Fox. And he just was like, had this sports music dynasty. Like he's one of the best. Anyway, he gave me this French horn sample from, I think, like the original emulator. Like it was like this, it's like a 12-bit sample. I'll just play it for you here. And the thing is, when he recorded the NFL on Fox theme, he had obviously unlimited dollars, to hire live players. He still ended the whole damn thing with that French horn sample because it just had this certain character that just, and that's the beauty of samples, is sometimes they just capture, like my vom. It's just like a special sample, right? And it just like nothing can, as a composer, nothing can replace my vom. You could give me, the London chorus, whatever, all doing vom, and it still wouldn't be my original vom, so it doesn't satisfy me as a composer, right? So,
Froggy Llama has a quick question.
Yeah.
Around 224 in the track.
Yes.
Inspirations there. Could it have possibly been Psycho?
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. Yes. Okay. Good. That's a good one. It is 100% Psycho. Yes, it is. And by the way, it was under the directive. It was either Glenn or Yas, and I think because, like, if you remember the Pinky boss, Pinky is the female ghost, and she's secretly in love with Pac-Man, right? And so she has this like bipolar relationship. On the one hand, she loves him. On the other hand, she's trying to kill him. So we thought it'd be funny to put the Psycho theme in there for a minute. And then I guess, I don't know, maybe there's like a reference to Pinky on that Clyde and the Caldera boss. I don't remember the reason, but I remember the directive was like, can we just for a moment get like some Psycho strings in there? And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Easy. Yeah, it's just like it. What that is not being influenced by Bernard Herrmann. That is tipping my hat, literally, like saying thank you for giving us Psycho, thank you for giving that into popular culture, because that is a meme essentially now, right? And it is So it's 100%. It's not influenced by. It is literally trying to come as close as I can to the original and using it in a similar way. And yeah, it's like tipping your hat and saying, I acknowledge what you gave me.
Without Spitfire's Bernard Herrmann orchestra, those strings sound pretty on point for a Psycho.
Yeah, right. So, and for those that don't follow, Spitfire Audio, with the permission and supervision of the Bernard Herrmann estate, got the permission to look at his scores and then make a sample library based on all of his ideas, right? And a lot of his odd pairings of instruments. And I have that library. But even in that library, there's no like Psycho Strings 101. They don't have that. It's just like you have dry high violins that are spiccato, and it's up to you to know and have studied the Psycho scores. And I've even recreated, part of the main title theme of Psycho, because it's one of these things as a film composer, because that was my major at Berkeley. I was a film composing major. It's one of those things that you just, he's the father of all modern film scoring, he did all those amazing Hitchcock movies, and of course the most famous of all is Psycho. I mean, but listen to that main title theme. It's whew, the things he's doing in there. It's like just insanity what he's doing in there. And, you know, I'll say something about this because, you know, Bobby and I met at ThinkSpace University, which is a British online school. And I was like a tutor there. And one of the assignments, in fact, was to recreate the Psycho intro from Bernard Herrmann. And I would always explain to my students, listen, you know, like it's not what he wrote in the score. Like if you're only doing that, you're not really getting the full picture. You have to do things that are not in his score to recreate the emotion that he got from the audience. And this is the thing. Don't always just, like if you're only looking at the notes, you're not looking at the whole picture. It's about the emotion and the feeling. So if you 100% perfectly recreate, okay, 100% recreate exactly what he wrote, and you're using crappy samples, well, you're not going to get that feeling of Psycho then, are you? Right? Mm-hmm. Now, on this podcast, all three of us use and love the Stretsoff sampling library called Afflatus, which has a patch, famous, right? Psychato, yes. Right? Psychato, which is another obvious, you know, paying respect to the greatest, probably I would say right. Bernard Herrmann is the greatest of all time. And Psychato being a play on words, instead of saying, you know, spiccato, which is the proper, I don't know, Emanuele, you're the resident Italian. Am I pronouncing it okay?
Spiccato.
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 Spiccato. I'll never understand the double consonants in Italian, you know. I'll never get it.
It's fine.
Anyway, so Psychato is like saying spiccato, but Psy from Psycho. And it's in that style. And so, you know, I was using it in my... So what I did is I recreated that little bit for my students. And I don't know what happened, maybe on a webinar, something like this. Somebody said, you know, oh, I see you're using the Afflatus Psychato. Are you aware that that's in octaves? And I'm like, absolutely, yeah, it's in octaves, correct. It's double basses and cellos. You know, but then that's changing originally what he wrote in his score. And I said, 100%, yeah. But what's your point? You know, like that I can't make a change? You know, like, you know, I'm doing what I have to do to recreate the emotion that you hear in a score like Psycho. And to do that, I'm using the very best tools, the cutting edge tools that are available to me as a composer. So, you know, I am not I didn't say that all of this in, you know, but I'm saying this to you guys. It is not disrespecting the legacy of Bernard Herrmann by using a patch called Psychato. If it's the opposite, because I'm trying to get that emotion, and I don't have, you know, the MGM scoring stage at my disposal, you know, and I don't have like the best LA session players the way Bernard Herrmann had. He had everything, no? So, yeah. So, yeah, that's... So
I think we can open it up to some questions, no?
Say again?
Let's see if... I think we can open it up to some questions.
Yes, do you guys have any questions about anything from what I showed you tonight here, or any other questions in general? I'm going to give this Studio Vision one more chance while we're waiting for the questions to come in. Emanuele, do you have any questions?
So, not much, to be honest. I think it's like very perfectly clear, like what you were talking about. Yeah, I mean...
I got a question.
Okay.
How many samples could you trigger at once from Studio Vision? Did you ever hit that peak?
Yeah.
Or that max limit?
Never ever hit that. Okay. So, yeah, I think I mean, I did hit a limit when I was writing for asteroids for the actual.
Okay.
There was a limit on how large a file you could put in there, but limits of notes, no, there was never a limit. The limitation was on your sampler, how many voices of polyphony, right? Those limits, I mean, you know what? I never hit them because, as most of us had back then, I mean, not to brag or boast here, but I had 6 times 35 space racks, 6. So I had 6 giant 35 space racks filled with equipment. And so you just had multiple samplers. Now, before I put them in the racks, they were all spread out. Oh, I found the photos, one of the photos of me at E3.
Okay.
Right. And there's another one we'll show because there's just this weird thing that let me see if I can find that. But what I'll do right now, let me just see. First of all, let me just find, let me find a picture. Oh, okay, there we go. So I found the 2 things I was going to show you guys. So, right. So if you look at this photo here, let's see, let's go to this view here. So this, you can see here, multiple samplers. So I've got 1, 2, 3 S6000s. I believe those were 128 voice polyphony. This is like the EMU64, which, was 64 voices. The Akai K2500. You can see the Roland XV5080, which was like 128 voices. That's my ESI 2000 down there. So you know what I mean? Like everybody just had racks filled with samplers. So you never hit that polyphony limit, never.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot more expensive to be a composer back then.
Say again?
It was a lot more expensive to be a composer
back then.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but you see, that's a great point. It's a great point, Bobby. Because these days, anyone with a laptop can be a record producer, an artist, a game composer. And so back in those days, like, you needed qualifications. You couldn't be in this business unless you knew what the hell you were doing. And not anybody, because back then, I mean, you would spend an obscene amount of money, not just like getting the gear, but upkeeping your studio, making sure it was modern, making sure your Pro Tools rig was like up to spec, like it was just a massive expensive thing. And a kid with a laptop could do nothing, had no chance of being a composer. And
laptop was useless.
Well, yeah, exactly. In 98, like, your laptop could basically open Excel and, maybe edit one picture or something,
Yeah.
So, would you say it's too easy today to do music?
Yes. I would say it's way too easy. And here's the big point, Emanuele, is that, like, your generation who grew up with all this amazing technology doesn't understand how valuable it is. Or let's say you take it for granted now, which I guess you can take it for granted because it is granted, essentially. The democratization of music technology, of all technology, really. So it is granted, I suppose. But back in the day, yeah, it was like, really, like, if you got the Akai K2500, like you were just like, you were the envy of the community, because that was like a, $6,000 proposition, We always joke that the model number of the Eventide Ultra Harmonizer was also the price tag, right? Like, so the H3000 was always $3,000. The H3500 was about 30, so like they always matched the dollar. And actually today, the H9000, I think it's like 8,500 euros for like the top version. So it's kept up with tradition, the model number is also the price tag. So yeah, I think the problem is that, the youth today are so bombarded by so much music, they don't understand the value anymore because the markets are super saturated, and not to their fault, by the way. It's not their fault at all. Whereas in my day growing up, like, you had to save your money and like walk dogs and shovel people's snow and cut their grass in the summer, and, just to get 25 cents. And then, if you did that, like, whatever, like 10, 20 times over the summer. And, you know, at the end of the summer, you could buy one Beatles record. You know what I mean? Like it was, so like music was valuable. So we would like, it was like a precious item. And it was the same thing with music technology as I was coming up as a composer. So yeah, I think it's way too easy. And the problem now, like back then, no video game producer or director would work with you if you didn't have like an amazing demo reel. You couldn't make one unless you had, right, the room that looked like this, right? Like this is what you needed to do that back then. And so the problem today is that you can make something of unbelievably high quality today with just a laptop. You literally, for under $1,000, you can be in business basically. And that was unheard of. Like get a good pair of headphones, get a crappy laptop with FL Studio, and you're in business, man. And the problem now is there's a whole generation of game producers that don't know the difference between what a kid with a laptop and zero experience and zero training, they don't know the difference between that and something that I do, which is, you know, 30 years in the industry and synthesizing all my knowledge. You know what I mean? Like I told you guys that, you know, pretty soon, once I finish all these translations, I'm going to give you guys, you know, Bobby and Emanuele here, copies of my Pac-Man library, my X-Men library, and you know they're going to be the benefactors of all that. It's literally all that knowledge of all those years packed into a single library. And no, I will never release it to the public because it's not for the public. Maybe in my will, I will leave it to the public when I'm gone. But you know, for now, only these guys get it. So, yeah, I think that's a major issue, and you know. I don't know if that's going to change, man. You know, at least not anytime. Say again?
Probably it's going to get even easier.
Yeah, I mean, especially now with AI, right? And we know with our clients at Orb Soundworks, some of them now are delivering AI references. Like they basically design their own music using AI, right? This happened with our most recent game we did, right? They hand us AI. And they're like, we want it to be like this. And then Emanuele, you know, will be working on sound effects. Maybe I'm dealing with music, whatever. We send it all back. And they're like, no, it still lacks the depth of our example track. It's like, do you know how insulting that is to say to a team at Orb Soundworks that the AI piece of crap that I sent as an example has more depth than your original music as a team of composers and sound designers? Like, it's ridiculous. So, but this, Emanuele, this proves the point of what I'm talking about. Now there's a whole generation of like producers that don't really know the difference anymore. And I think as AI, like, man, I give us like 10 years before we're all out of a job because AI will just take over everything, you know, because look what's happening in education with AI, right? Where students are using AI to do their term papers or their major final thesis. And, you know, the professors mark those papers using AI. So literally nobody at university is doing work anymore. Kids are using AI to do their assignments. Teachers are marking using AI. So literally no one's getting anything out of it. So
it's a feedback loop.
What's that?
It's a feedback loop.
Yes, precisely. It's a feedback loop.
But I think
listen,
overall, in the coming years, I think we're all gonna see the degradation of quality in everything.
I sincerely hope so. But
and
listen,
personally, I think people will strive for the human touch more so than ever.
What we need is a renaissance, something similar to the Renaissance. But the problem is we haven't fully gone through the Dark Ages yet. We're entering them. We've been in them, I guess. So we need a renaissance. So, but
so the E3 picture, David.
I was going to say, without further ado,
eagerly waiting.
Without further ado,
like I really have to go.
Yeah, go.
I just wanted to.
Yeah. Take care. Take care.
So we will talk.
Yes, we will talk very soon. But before you go, please indulge me. Here it is, guys. That is the babyface David Logan. at the Namco booth at the premiere of Pac-Man World 2. There I am. So now you can go, Emanuele, because now your life is complete, Emanuele.
Yeah.
You know? Well, there it is, guys. There it is. There it is. David Logan at the Namco booth. I told you, I had little dreadlocks and leather pants. I wasn't lying.
Quite the outfit.
Yeah, quite the very LA, very like Hollywood, and of course everybody had the goatee. Everybody's rocking the goatee in the early 2000s, late 90s. So, but there it is, man. And there's another.
Was your music there?
Yes, this was like the beta before. This was the big reveal at E3.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why I have that fucking smile on my face, you know, because I'm literally at E3 at the Namco booth, and there were these giant walls, and I have one of me against an entire wall of the LA Convention Center that just has a giant Pac-Man plastered on it, and I'm standing in front of it with a thumbs up, and Pac-Man has also got a thumb. I got to find it, though. I couldn't find that one, but I found this one, and it's the one... It's the one I referenced in one of our other podcasts. So there it is, guys. You've seen it now. You've seen David Logan at the Namco booth during the premiere. And like, again, these are things that you can't take away from me, you know, like my name in the credits, me at the Namco booth. And I also, I'm sure somewhere I have also me standing beside the producer, Glenn Curitan. And yeah. Did they have any, hold up, didn't they have a special swamp level in one of the pre-release events that didn't end up in the
I'm
game?
just going to leave now, so we'll see you
Yeah, you take care. Go.
Really.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Thanks for coming. I honestly don't remember. You guys, you got to also remember, like, this was 25 years ago, right? So, you know, there's only so much I kind of remember, and, you know, there's a lot of things in my life that I'm, you know, trying to forget from that time in my life. So I don't remember every single detail, but I remember a lot. I remembered a lot, you know, so yeah. Anyway, anybody else have any kind of, you know, burning questions about Pac-Man before we wrap things up? I think we're basically ready to wrap it up.
Yeah, I think so.
So guys, thank you all so much for coming. And, but yeah, I honestly, I'm sorry, Bergsterama. Yeah, I honestly don't remember. Like, there's a lot of lore about, you know, game culture, game development. And I mean, you know, this is why people do this, like, research on Reddit, and, you know, they try and dig deeper. And, you know, for me, it's just like, I put out the music, and, you know, I'm the composer of the music for that game, and so be it, and that's it. I asked if you found the beta snow theme I linked a few weeks ago. Yes, I found it. Super Starman, I found it, yeah. I found everything because I went through all the archives, and I've compiled... sorry, did Luna Morley have another question? I guess maybe Oh, did I miss that? Oh, man. Was Pac-Man getting so dramatic and intense? A directive from Namco, your own decision or comment? Was the Pac-Man World getting so dramatic? I love surprising people to score. I mean, Luna, I don't know. I mean, the answer is like, you know, I worked with a great bunch of people, Yas Noguchi and Glenn Curitan, and I wrote what I consider to be some of my greatest work. And I don't know how to answer that question other than I'm proud of the work I did. But I don't know. I mean, did I answer that right? Like, I don't know if I even... Because unfortunately, the questions are going by so fast on my feed because my I made the text really big on that screen because my eyes are not so good. But I don't know. Did I miss anything, Bobby, in your opinion?
No, I think somebody had a second question that I think Ryan Silverman had a question, but I
missed it.
I don't see it either.
Ryan, do you want to ask your question one more time?
Yeah, I can ask it again. Otherwise.
And by the way, Bobby, I don't see any reason.
A
Tell me.
furnace question is that, do you know if the Pac-Man World 2 original soundtrack experienced any major changes from when the game was first shown to the press in 2001 to when it was released later?
Did the Pac-Man experience any major changes from when the game was first shown?
I guess he's asking if they changed
No,
soundtrack?
nothing. No, there were no major changes. No, not at all. Yeah, no, it was basically when we released it to the public and the press got a chance to play it and at the booth and all that good stuff. And, I was there and I was meeting and greeting and, I was the composer and, it was a, oh, thank you for saying that, Luna. We're going to send you a love Pac-Man bomb specifically to you for saying that. Anyway, yeah, so no, there were no major changes, and in the music there were a few things, like, again, we were changing like things out like 2 days before the Gold Master came out. But they were just, smaller changes. It was nothing significant and massive. No, nothing like that. So, by the way, Bobby, I put in our Pac-Man folder that photo of me at E3. And there was a request that we tweeted out, and I don't see any.
It will go up on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, I don't.
100%.
There's no way that Namco could have a problem with that. I mean,
no,
it's a picture of me at E3. Yeah. So yes, we'll definitely tweet that out as soon as we can. So hopefully, even tonight, we can get it out.
Right.
So guys, listen. Thank you all so much for coming and for continuing to come. It's really it's a great pleasure to be doing this, and that there's so much interest in this little slice of game music history. A very small one, but it's still a slice, and it tastes good. No? So,
right.
All right, guys.
And next week we're going to start doing a little bit of the repacking. And,
right. So our plan, and maybe we should have like a "shut the hell up, Logan" clause. Like after, like I only get like 5 minutes to say anything, and then I got to go and I got to write some music. So, because Spin, I'm so happy that you love it. Let's just send love out to everybody. Big Pac-Man orb love bombs being dropped here. Thank you guys for all your kind words and encouragement. But yes, so one of our plans, and we're going to try and do this next week, and I was actually thinking of going back to doing 2 streams a week and doing like Production Wednesday and then History Saturday kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, anyway, we can talk about this another time, Bobby. But for now, next stream that we do, I'm going to start repacking the right way, as we're calling it. Repack the right way. So we're going to start exploring, okay, now that because now, guys, all Pac-Man music has been brought back from, it never died, but has been brought back from the afterlife and of the early 2000s. So everything's assembled now, all 24 tracks and a couple of the Pac Pond and one of the intros cutscenes. I think I'm only missing like the final boss, maybe, but the final boss is like, I don't know, 45 seconds. It's not super important to the game, but I mean, to the game it is, but like for this project,
this was 2001 or 2002, the E3.
We started in 2001, and then I think it was officially released in 02. Yeah.
But the E3 photo was 2001.
E3 was that should have been 2001. Yeah. Because I think I can even check some of my records and like look at the timestamps if you really want. I mean, I could even do that right now. But anyway, it was would have been 2001, might have been 2002. I don't know. Is there a timestamp on the photo? Let me just check that real quick here.
2007.
Yeah, that's probably when I transferred it, because obviously by 2007 it was had already been out for many years. I mean, I can look into that. I can build maybe a little timeline if you want. But yeah, it was between 01 and 02, that all that was done. And it was early. Yeah, I think like February of 02 it came out. And I think, here, you know what? Let me do this. I'll do this real quick here. I'll just quickly go
It was released in February 2002.
February.
So
Okay, yeah. There you go.
2001.
There you go. So yeah, I was right. So February of '02, and I got the like I said, I got the contract in early, like the talks were through August, and then I signed probably, September 2nd or, whatever it was. And then I was supposed to fly out on September 11th for the first big, pipeline meeting. And then September 11th, 2001 happened. And obviously I didn't fly anywhere. And then I remember Glenn and I, like, we spent hours on the phone just sort of in shock together. We just had a long, sincere talk, and we were just talking about life and the tragedy. And it was just, and actually he and I, sort of built a bit of a camaraderie. We sort of bonded on that day, over the tragedy and loss of life, the horrible loss of life. So anyway, yeah. So, early September was when I officially began. And then, yeah, we were doing stuff, and that's a long cycle, by the way. Normally at AAA, it's like 3 months and you're done, but we did, part of September, October, November, December, January, February. I mean, it was like, it was a long dev cycle, like really long. Yeah. But for a game of that level, you take your time, and they did. So, yeah, 25-year anniversary next year, guys. And that's, Bobby and I were just talking about that, I guess, at the beginning of the summer. And he was like, yeah, but that's like not till 2026. And I'm like, yeah, but that's coming around the corner, man. But I guess it's 27 is the 27, officially the 27th. But yeah, we're now September of 24. 25, sorry. I don't even know what year it is. So like, it's right. The February of 27. Remember that, right? Yeah. So it's like, it's a year and change away, right? Yeah. So we got to figure out what we're going to do and then build up to that. Because guys, we there's a big question mark with Namco because we don't know if they're going to try and block us from doing even repackaging or, well, we can't. But if we do a new master recording and get a license, they might try to block it. Like, who knows what they're going to do, right? We don't know. Right. We'll see, though, guys. They've been very nice so far, and we've been nice in kind, and we complied. We took it down. And sorry for all those people who, wanted to get a copy of it or whatever. Anyway, I think we should wrap it up, though. So we're good. Guys, thank you all so much. And Bobby, thank you so much. And thank you to Emanuele. And I'm all prepared this time. I know how to end the stream even. So like I always say, I think the purpose of life is to find some purpose in life. And I think the meaning of life is to find some meaning in life. Guys, thank you all so much. We'll see you next